barakatuh. Continuing with where we left off last week, a way to look at life that would be utmost productive and beneficial is to imagine ourselves as alien beings who have occupied our bodies. To know very well that the body in which we come has already a preordained genetical structure and a makeup. We take birth within a body that has strengths and has weaknesses. It is also predisposed to certain tendencies. And we are born into families that have already been preordained of sort. We have come in geopolitical circumstances not directly of our making. We have come into religions that are not what we chose, but we inherited. If we can imagine ourselves as creatures who have come within a fixed set of parameters and rules and regulations, but we are none of them, then that makes life easier and productive. What do we mean? As people in this world, we have many tendencies, and we seem to associate them with ourselves. We have thoughts, we have habits, and we then think that we are those thoughts, we are those habits. And as a result, we end up not liking ourselves, or loathing ourselves, or even cursing ourselves, and thinking that we are extremely unworthy. This then perpetuates itself, and we get into a cycle. And the things that we think we are, the negative things, we perpetuate them constantly. But if we can get out of this cycle and see ourselves as above it and outside it, and we can think as people who are experiencing these emotions, these inclinations, these thoughts, but who are not actually associated with those emotions and those thoughts, then we can purge ourselves from them instead of cursing ourselves and trying to better ourselves through arduous forms of exercises and through torturous discipline. If we can just simply say that these tendencies are tendencies with which I was born, or my body and my mind has been indoctrinated with before I awoke in the proper sense within my physical existence. What happens there is that we create a distance between us and whatever we are feeling and whatever we are thinking. And then that gives us respite, that we are not these things, and allows us instead to look at life and its strengths and weaknesses as opportunities for us to actualize our humanity or our godliness. And at that point, we see that there is a lesson to be learned in everything that we are feeling, in the way that we think, in the way that we react and interact. We have to learn those lessons and grow through them and become bigger people. Now here, as opposed to cursing our fate and maybe being displeased with God, we can say, well, I chose to come here in these circumstances because I saw them as a great opportunity for myself. Now that I am encountering them, my attitude should be that these are arbitrary facets of my bodily existence. It's nothing to do with me. What is the lesson that I can learn through this? So, for example, if we are angry people, then we should know straight off that this anger is not me. Anger is with the body and the psychological makeup that I have inherited. So when I feel anger, as opposed to cursing myself, I can see this as an opportunity, that there is a real task at hand And that is, how do I overcome this anger, channel it properly, and convert it into bravery or something beneficial? How do I overcome it and get control over it? At times we will become angry, we will swear, we will curse, we will wish ill for others. But after we do that, we need to step back and reflect that, yes, that was a momentary slip I made. I am neither the anger nor the reaction that I offered at that point. What do I learn from it? What I learned from it is that instead of retorting or cursing, had I been more mindful at that point that this is not me, it's an emotion that has been stirred by an external impetus, stimulus. And at that point, it was an opportunity for me to take hold of myself and say, see, this is not me. I am experiencing this as a fleeting emotion. Let me try and exercise my willpower to strengthen the willpower through this wonderful opportunity. On the other hand, if we have become angry and we have injured somebody else's feelings, then again, this is an opportunity. Well, now what I need to learn from this is humility. To accept the truth, but not to perpetuate the falsehood by making excuses for myself. I have to accept the truth, that this was wrong. I need to apologize, humble myself, and next time round, see it as an opportunity to go through. But even this particular slip that I made, it should not go to waste. Instead of it being something that I either think through in a negative fashion about myself, that how despicable am I, or to perpetuate by offering excuses, let me take the right attitude. It was an opportunity that I missed, but now I can make good by apologizing, becoming mindful, humbling myself, so that next time when the same opportunity comes, I can do better. The same is the case with everything else that we have. Either our inability to trust God, or our inability to thank God, or inability to see good in others, or inability to appreciate others for what they are. All of these things are the same thing. We need to see them as ready-made frameworks in which we are awakening, and there is something to be learned from them. So now, if somebody is a very angry person, let us say, or a very abusive person, then instead of judging them and cursing them and condemning them, we should say that that is their opportunity and they are failing to make the most of their opportunity. My role here should be to awaken that person very gently to their opportunity that is being lost. Not to curse them or to make them feel guilty for what they are doing and make them feel unworthy. It was very simple for the Blessed Prophet. He had immense belief in humanity. You cannot bring about the fundamental reform that he brought about without believing in the essential goodness of humanity. So he goes to people who are barbarians. They bury their daughters without a sense of sin. They kill, plunder, inherit human beings, abuse human beings. There is nothing but what we would term today evil and darkness inside those hearts. But the Blessed Prophet saw beauty in their hearts. He saw people who had not understood the nature of their existence. So he reminded them of their essential goodness. And he said, now that you know you're good, see how it feels. They felt the goodness in their souls, and immediately that goodness multiplied. Allah says in the Quran, if you do evil, the consequences will be curtailed to that evil. But if you do good, I will multiply it many folds over. This is the property of good. It's a productive, growth-promoting property. If you do good, godliness increases many folds over. It's like a ray of light. No matter how intense the darkness may be, a single ray of light can cut through it and tear it apart. So now when we have thoughts in our minds Instead of us then condemning ourselves, loathing ourselves, we should say, no, this is not me. The first thing to do is to disassociate with that thought. Similarly, when we have tendencies within us, tendencies of being miserable, of being cynical, of being greedy, or being jealous, we should know that this is not me. It was preordained of sort, and I have inherited this situation and these circumstances. And I have to realize that I'm none of these, but I have to work through them as they come. There's a lesson to be learned, humanity to be actualized. The sort of attitude that we take in religion is that, well, when we look at our children and when we see them suffering due to their own habits, we don't condemn them, because seeing them suffer causes us greater suffering. Condemning them is condemning ourselves. So we have a very sympathetic attitude towards our children, and we try and help them overcome their inadequacies and make them work through them slowly and gradually, through perseverance, through a lot of kindness. We make ample excuses for them to forgive them. This is the nature of God with which we are vested as parents. In religion, what we are taught is that we should be parenting ourselves. What we forget is charity begins at home. The realest home is the individual themselves. That we need to look at ourselves very kindly as parents, very mercifully. We need to be able to forgive ourselves. We need to be able to console ourselves that this is not you. You're capable of much better. Don't think of yourself as a bad person. You're a good person. You're experiencing bad times, but those bad times are mistakenly being experienced by you. Bad times are the times of the body. You are beyond the body. Your prestige is not contingent to people appreciating you. You cannot be humiliated by people swearing at you. In fact, when people swear at you, it is an opportunity for you to become a bigger person, a more nobler person, by saying, phenomenal is the opportunity at hand, that when people curse me, condemn me, swear at me, slander me, through that I learn to smile, pray for them, love them, and it shouldn't make any difference to me whether they know the truth or they don't know the truth. Whether they curse me or whether they love me or whether they think of me as a despicable soul, because their validation in the realest sense doesn't really matter, because I'm not what they think I am. I know what I am, and I'm clean in front of my God. So we need to console ourselves in that manner, to not to be so involved in life and not to associate with our circumstances or inner thoughts or inner emotions. What that does is it allows us to purge ourselves of this negativity that we are born with, and allows us to convert it into a beautiful state of godliness and actualize our full humanity. There is something else, though, that religion does suggest, that when we encounter such emotions, we should do the opposite in order to allow ourselves to overcome them. So if a person is scared, then they should at times risk it all and say what is within their hearts. And they should see it not as something that is real, but as to think to themselves in the back of their minds that this is an exercise that I'm going through in order to gain that confidence and that courage. Similarly, when a person is overly attached with, let's say, wealth, for them to practice giving away. Let them feel the pain of giving away, for that attachment breaking. What that will do is it will bring home that meaning that you were never the wealth. It can never make you. You had just very falsely made that assumption that you were greedy and you needed wealth. Similarly, if we are valued for our beauty, then maybe at certain point to not to care about how we look, in order to break that idol, in order to disassociate and to detach from that connection, because it is not us. Now, when we look at things in this way, then our bodily features, the way we look, whether we are beautiful, whether we are ugly, whether we are sick, whether we are healthy, rich or poor, the value of these things will diminish. They will not make us and they will not break us. We see on many occasions that our confidence level goes up when people praise us, or when we look presentable, or when we have wealth and we have clout and we pretend to be in a certain way. These are false senses of belonging to those facets of personality, because those facets of personality are not really there. We are the most beautiful. Think about it this way. If this chest bears the breath of the merciful, then even Joseph of God means nothing in front of the beauty that lies within this chest. But unfortunately, we've taken the body as a criterion for beauty. It's so unfortunate. As Ali says, Salamullah alayhi, O Lord, sufficient is the pride for me that you are my God and I be called your slave. When we have that pride unending with God, how can wealth add to my pride or knowledge or family or power? This false sense of pride, we need to understand, has to be detached from. We need to know it's a bodily thing, nothing to do with me inside. I'm going to end with the Rumi's quote, in which he states that you marvel at the brilliance of the sun. If only you knew what you were, if you could acquire your own luminosity, the brilliant sun will appear like a flickering distant star in the face of your illumination and brilliance. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.